Nobody expected the update to come in such an understated way, and maybe that's exactly why it landed so hard. For weeks, Tom Aspinall's situation felt like a looming question mark hanging over the heavyweight division. Fans noticed the absence, commentators danced around it, and social media filled the gaps with guesses that grew more dramatic by the day. Injuries are never simple, and silence tends to invite the worst assumptions. When Aspinall finally addressed it, there was no emotion to sell, no urgency to convince anyone. One surgery already completed, another scheduled for mid-January. The tone wasn't hopeful or pessimistic. It was deliberate. What really caught attention was how quickly he shifted his focus forward, already framing this chapter as something temporary, almost procedural. In a sport where careers are often derailed by impatience, that restraint felt rare. But the heavyweight division doesn't slow down just because one of its most dangerous players is sidelined. And while Aspinall recovers, the rest of the MMA world keeps producing storylines that refuse to stay quiet. Aspinall's journey to this point has always been calculated, almost surgical. Born and raised in England, he learned early that talent alone wouldn't be enough to carry him. He trained tirelessly, not just to survive in the cage, but to dominate. He earned a reputation for explosive power, precise striking, and an uncanny ability to read opponents before they realized the fight had started. His time as a sparring partner for Tyson Fury isn't just a fun fact. It's a testament to how seriously he approached development. Even before the UFC recognized him, he was already preparing at the highest level, immersing himself in a world few fighters ever reach. Sparring with Fury required adaptability, understanding angles, timing, and defensive tactics that translate differently in MMA, but sharpen instincts exponentially. Aspinall's stories about those sessions are almost understated, but anyone who trains at that level knows how rare such an opportunity is. A decade of preparation, honing his hands, refining his footwork, these aren't just anecdotes. They're the invisible layers of skill that define champions before they ever step into the cage. What began as a routine grappling announcement slowly evolved into one of the more uncomfortable rivalries to surface recently. Shara Magomedov and Arman Tsarukyan weren't supposed to collide like this. On paper, it looked clean and two elite athletes, different weight classes, a competitive exhibition in Armenia, nothing more. But tension has a way of forming when expectations clash with reality. When Magomedov didn't appear at a pre-event press gathering, Tsarukyan didn't wait for clarification. Comments surfaced online that blurred the line between provocation and insult. At first, fans treated it like standard pre-fight noise. But then the response arrived from Magomedov's camp, and the picture shifted. Flights cancelled without warning, no communication, no officials waiting on arrival, tickets paid personally. That version of events didn't match the narrative being pushed online. When Magomedov finally spoke publicly, the mood changed completely. He didn't just defend his actions. He explained his life. He contrasted backgrounds, opportunities, and definitions of fear in a way that made the exchange feel deeply personal. At that point, it stopped sounding like promotion. Whether or not the tension was initially manufactured no longer mattered. Once those words were spoken, the matchup became about respect, identity, and pride, and those shifts last longer than any result. That same sense of fragility showed up in a completely different context when Justin Gaethje nearly turned a harmless gym drill into something far more serious. It wasn't competition or ego that caused it, just instinct. A sprint, a grab, a moment where momentum carried him a little too far. Nothing catastrophic happened, but the reaction told the story. Everyone watching understood how close things can come undone in an instant. With major events approaching, even a near miss feels like a warning. Almost immediately, attention shifted to contingencies. Who's available? Who's ready? Who's watching closely to step in? When Arman Tsarukyan's name resurfaced again, in that context, it wasn't opportunism in the traditional sense. It was awareness. In elite MMA, awareness often separates those who wait from those who advance. Strategic moves sometimes look confusing until the intent becomes clear. Valter Walker's involvement with karate combat initially raised eyebrows, but viewed closely, it fits seamlessly into his trajectory. He isn't chasing novelty. He's reinforcing his identity. Grappling matches sharpen specific skills without the wear and tear of full MMA bouts, and Walker understands exactly how to use that platform. Facing Zion Clark elevates the moment further. Clark's presence changes the tone automatically. He's not just another opponent. He represents perseverance taken to an extreme. Born without legs, Clark's story transcends sport entirely. It's a testament to how preparation, ingenuity, and unrelenting determination can redefine expectations. But respect doesn't eliminate competition. The leaked exchanges showed both men believe deeply in their own dominance. That belief is what transforms an event from an exhibition into a proving ground. Neither man is entering to participate. They're entering to assert, and an MMA assertion is everything. Then there's Paulo Costa, whose career seems permanently suspended between potential and frustration. Every time his name reappears, the same questions follow. Why so many cancellations? Why so many resets? Why does momentum never seem to carry forward? His response to Ikram Eliskurov's callout didn't calm those questions. It redirected them. Sarcasm can deflect pressure, but it can't erase history. The Utah reference hit because fans remember. They always do. And when Darren Till launched his verbal assault, it poured fuel on an already unstable perception. Till's words weren't measured, but they weren't ignored either. They echoed a frustration many feel when potential doesn't fully materialize. Too many delays. Too many resets. Too many moments where opportunities slipped through fingers. Talent has never been the issue. Trust has. For Costa, the narrative is as much about perception as it is about performance. A reminder that in MMA, the cage isn't the only arena. Public opinion, timing, and social media amplify every misstep at the championship level. The conversation becomes even more unforgiving. Shavkat Rakhmonov's undefeated record speaks loudly, but time speaks louder. Islam Makhachev hasn't softened his stance, and he hasn't tried to. No recent fights, no immediate title opportunity. From his perspective, it's structure, not avoidance. Come back, prove readiness, then talk about gold. Supporters see logic, critics see excuses. History suggests the UFC usually sides with activity, unless the name involved is big enough to bend the rules. And that reality frustrates contenders more than losses ever could, because injuries don't erase ability, but they erase visibility, and visibility often decides everything. While debates rage publicly, the quiet work continues behind the scenes. Alex Pereira's return to grappling after revealing a broken foot isn't about silencing critics directly. It's about closing gaps before they become problems. Every elite fighter knows what people say about them. The smartest ones respond in private, training in harsh conditions, pushing uncomfortable areas, preparing for criticism before it arrives. Pereira's snow clips weren't marketing. They were reminders that discomfort is intentional. He's not reacting to pressure. He's building under it. And when you examine other elite fighters, from Gaethje to Walker, a pattern emerges. Those who survive the long game don't react impulsively. They respond methodically. Every drill, every sparring session, every calculated risk in the gym is preparation for moments the public will never see but that ultimately decide their fate. The deeper you look, the clearer it becomes that many of these stories intersect around a single theme. Timing. Tom Aspinall turning down an early UFC offer wasn't hesitation. It was timing. Training with Tyson Fury years before his UFC debut wasn't luck. It was timing meeting preparation. These moments don't look significant until hindsight reveals their value. Aspinall's current composure makes more sense when you realize he's never rushed the process. He's always trusted it. Reality doesn't care about rankings or belts though. Anthony Joshua's crash cut through every debate with brutal clarity. One moment, celebration. The next, vulnerability. Fighters responding with concern weren't just reacting as professionals. They were reacting as humans who understand how quickly control can vanish. The frustration expressed over people filming, instead of helping, struck a nerve because it reflects a larger shift in how moments are consumed. Even danger becomes content. Even fear becomes footage. And that realization lingers far longer than the headline itself. Every detail, from social media callouts to training videos, is part of a larger, interconnected rhythm. Injuries don't just pause careers. They reshape divisions. Rivalries don't always start in cages. They begin in misunderstandings. Opportunities aren't always earned through wins. Sometimes they appear through proximity and readiness. Preparation happens quietly, while chaos plays out loudly. And silence, more often than not, is just pressure building. Every fighter's story, every headline, every tension-filled moment, contributes to the broader rhythm of the sport. Some careers sprint forward under the lights. Others build quietly behind closed doors. And some wait, observing the chaos until the moment is right. The sport thrives in that constant collision of preparation and unpredictability, of ambition and reality, of patience and opportunity. And that's what makes MMA irresistible to watch. Because no matter how much you think you know, the next twist is always closer than you expect. Because in MMA, silence is never empty. It's just the space before everything changes. Injuries, rivalries, callouts, preparation, near misses, and personal histories collide in a way that ensures nothing stays dormant. Every calm is temporary, every pause carries tension, every absence fuels speculation, and every return reshapes the narrative. Timing decides more than talent. Awareness decides more than strength. And resilience decides more than everything else combined. In this sport, careers aren't measured in wins alone, they're measured in moments like these. The ones that happen off camera, the ones that don't make the headlines. The ones that quietly determine who is ready when chaos finally erupts again. And when it finally erupts, you realize the story never started in the cage. It started long before anyone noticed. In the preparation, the sacrifices, the small victories, and the quiet persistence. Every punch, every grapple, every calculated risk is part of a larger narrative. One that unfolds slowly, unpredictably, and inevitably toward those who have truly earned it. Every headline, every viral clip, every comment online is just a reflection of a story that was brewing quietly, measured in years, sweat, and focus. until the right moment arrived on. When it does, everything else seems secondary. That's the rhythm of MMA, that's the heartbeat of the sport. That's what makes watching it feel alive, relentless, and impossible to ignore.